pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is public appearances, and this is public's opportunity to speak about any subject that is not a specific agenda item. We have a bunch of people that have registered, but I think those are all agenda items. Item 5 is discuss and consider the minutes of the regular village board meeting of April 1st and the special village board meeting of March 25th. Any comments or questions or additions?
Make a motion to approve both.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second to approve both sets of minutes as presented. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain from March 25th.
One abstention for March, and motion passes. Item 6A, discuss and consider reinstatement of TDS right-of-way permit. We have some folks here from TDS, Drew Peterson, and some other folks. If you want to come on up here and go from there.
Well, good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to address the village board tonight. Congratulations to you new board members and new leadership on your recent elections. I am Drew Peterson. I'm the Senior Vice President for Corporate Affairs at TDS. I have with me tonight numerous team members from our marketing, network construction and engineering, our business development group, and our legal counsel, both internal and external. We're here tonight to address customer concerns with our fiber optic construction in Cottage Grove. To date, we've built roughly 65% of Cottage Grove. We've done our best to do so in a responsible, quality construction manner. Unfortunately, in several limited instances, in 2 subdivisions, we've not met those high expectations. While our placement of communications pedestals have been done appropriately in approved and platted public easements, it's clear this difficult winter of weather, coupled with a need for better communication education and customer education, have combined to allow for us to miss the mark. At the 2 previous meetings we appeared, the village board allowed customers to speak their mind, to express their concerns, and we at TDS have absorbed those complaints loud and clear. Let me say, the pursuit of completing construction in Cottage Grove early this spring is what motivated us to continue with winter construction. And with the snow still on the ground, that was a mistake. And to have restoration privileges temporarily suspended for several weeks made matters worse. So where we go from here is what's most important, and it's also where I want to focus our attention this evening. For the last month, we've met with village staff, board members, the Director of Public Works, your legal counsel on a weekly basis. We've negotiated in good faith to understand citizens' concerns, to listen, to redesign our network to accommodate these views. We've shared those learnings with village leadership to build a response plan that is appropriate and timely. Tonight, I direct you to the color-coded map that I've shared with the board. TDS is proposing to make modifications to our construction plans in 3 specific areas, and we are prepared to do this at our expense. First, for the residents who live on the west side of Forreston Drive, on Arbory Court, and the 2 residences on Heather Drive, that's Area 1, shown in the salmon color. These locations represent homes where we have no rear lot access. The public utility easement available to us is only located in front lots. Through our discussion with these 19 homeowners, we've learned if they cannot have a rear pedestal, they would like them removed from their front lot, and they do not want our service. Since we build an interconnected network which requires pedestals to connect several houses together, it's unworkable to construct the network in a fashion that will allow us to provide service to those 19 locations. We therefore propose removing the pedestals, capping them off with flush-mounted covers that can be mowed over, and we will do complete landscape restoration to restore these areas to their original condition. These 19 customers have expressed their displeasure. We respect their wishes, and we extend our apologies. Second, on Tiarella Trail, the east side of Yarrow Hill Drive, Hawthorne Court, and portions of Heather Drive, which is Area 2 in blue, where we currently have front lot pedestals placed, but can gain a rear lot easement. We will move those pedestals to the rear lot location available, again capping off the front pedestal with a flush mounted cover that can be mowed over. Landscape restoration to refurbish original areas to this condition will take place here as well. This will affect 37 homes in total, and they will all remain eligible for service. Third, we have 29 homes in yellow, which is Area 3, where the front lot pedestal is located with other utilities in the public easement, which is located in the front lot. By that I mean your electric, your cable, your wire line is all in the front lot. We will follow that same front lot easement. All of these residents will also remain service eligible. So to recap, it's our sincere hope these accommodations will satisfy local Cottage Grove residents and allow us to begin the process of restoring our reputation in a positive manner. We've directed significant resources to this situation. We take seriously community engagement, and as a family-owned company, it's important to us to do the right thing, even when it comes at a cost. The negotiations we've had with village staff have been productive and cordial. I believe your legal counsel and the Public Works Department believes our proposal is equitable, lawful, reasonable, and honest. Finally, I take personal responsibility for these oversights, for driving our team to continue with construction over the winter, particularly this winter, and it is now our request that the village board move a motion tonight to restore our construction and restoration privileges immediately so we can remove pedestals and restore landscape to its original condition in Area 1, move front lot pedestals to the rear in Area 2, and complete construction in Area 3 as is approved and platted. I thank the board and the audience for their attention. I sincerely hope this series of accommodations is acceptable. We're prepared to answer any questions you may have, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to address all of you tonight.
Board members, any questions from Mr. Peterson?
Have the homeowners in the lot shaded yellow been contacted to notify them that the pedestals are going to remain in the front, and they all agreed to keep them in the front and continue to pursue services?
In the yellow, I believe we've had very few complaints, and in addition, we're following the public utility easement, which is precisely where all the other utilities are located. We do not, and I don't believe I know there exists no rear lot access in all of those areas.
So they already have electric, cable, whatever?
Adjacent.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right, any other questions?
And I'm noticing there are two over along Heather. There's no way of getting access to them through the back, correct?
That's correct, yep. There's no rear lot access. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for TDS representatives? If not, I want to thank you for putting together a plan. And JJ is here somewhere. So the other map that you're looking at with all the green on it is the actual easements that we had requested as a board. So we know where the easements actually are. All right, and we did have one person, if there's no other questions from the board, that did want to speak, Matt Dunning.
I can yield my timeline. I guess I'd like a business card, Phil, because
Sure.
there was damage done to my property that extends beyond the 6-foot easement, and it involves a tree and a rock.
Of course.
I don't know how
Okay,
you
no
plan
question.
on fixing that exactly, but I'd
We'll
like
care for it. You
to have
bet.
somebody other than the group that I've been getting to run around with.
All right, fair enough.
I did have one question.
Sure.
then. At the last board meeting, someone, I think Julie, had indicated that there was a fee for landscaping that the homeowners would receive.
Oh, you mean a credit? or-
Yeah.
That had
is
been
that?
socialized, and we decided through our conversations with the village board that we'd go in a different direction, which is the accommodations that I've laid out today. So we went through
Okay.
an entire, network redesign. But I want to assure you that we will do our level best on all kinds of restoration work from here on out, including your homework.
So real quick then,
Yeah.
from the lessons learned in this
neighborhood, or these neighborhoods, going forward. So you said 65% of the village is wired or fibered, I should say.
Yeah.
What are you taking away from that?
A couple things. One is that we would communicate more directly with the Public Works Department ahead of time to ensure that they have an appreciation for where easement needs to go. I would say that, you know, this is all in the public utility easement, and it's a bit unusual in that there's a private easement in some portions of some neighborhoods that extended from years ago. Again, in every instance, we're in the public utility easement area, and it was approved, of course. I think we do a better job communicating that with Public Works ahead of time so that they were prepared. You can always do a better job on communicating with local residents without question. This is unusual for us. I think the biggest takeaway is that we were so focused, and we remain so focused on building out all of the communities where we're doing this, that we were aggressive about building in the winter. And I think that conflated into the challenges of what we experienced here. We have had very little customer concern in other territories. So I place a premium on the fact that this was a very, very difficult winter for us all to endure. But nevertheless, there are definitely lessons learned, and we're trying to put them to good use tonight, and we will certainly do that in the future, Trustee Lawrence.
I personally very much appreciate everything that you're here with tonight. It's very nice. And then also the fact that you, at your cost, are going to move those pedestals from the front to the rear. That was one of the things I was concerned about.
JJ, just a question for you. Are you going to be able to keep an eye on this? And I mean, I don't know what the timetable is that you guys have discussed, but if we reinstate the permit, I'm assuming it starts as soon as possible.
Yep.
Okay.
If I can ask, so moving forward, the pedestals will be placed near the other pedestals where homes are, whether they're in the front or in the back. How close?
Adjacent in every area that we can. In some limited instances, that easement is full, or it abuts a sidewalk to that effect. And we'll be cognizant of that, and we'll dialogue that through with Public Works. But every effort will be made to put them as proximate as possible, given space availability.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, based on this plan, I'll make a motion to reinstate TDS's permit to restore landscaping and move ahead with the pedestals as planned.
Should we look at people?
We have one person that registered for TDS. Everybody else is for a different item.
Okay.
And he yielded his time.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from staff or?
I have a question.
Sir, did you register to speak?
Sorry.
Did you register to speak or? Okay.
It's hard to register to speak because we didn't know where we fell on this map.
Okay. All right. Quickly, what's your question?
I got a question. My wife does.
Well,
yeah, I just find, all of our utilities are in, I am totally, like we want the pedestal removed from the front yard, but I'm just very confused on why it can't be put in the backyard, because all of our other utilities are in the backyard, the Alliant, the Charter, all the electrical, all the utility boxes are in the backyard, so I just find it very strange that out of all of Heather Drive, only my house and my next door neighbor's house, the two,
right there.
yeah, doesn't have an easement in the back.
I'm sure that easement was probably put in before any of us were on the board, and I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
But
I mean, you guys can go right through the backyard, can't you, or not? You don't want to anymore?
not without an easement.
Oh, and where do those easements come from? then?
When the development was made,
When the
like
development was
20
made?
years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So if they don't exist, they don't exist.
You can give them an easement, they choose not to take that.
Well, I know, they don't
What
want,
did you
that's
say?
cheap way
That
out.
I can choose to give them an
It's your
easement, you
property,
said?
you can grant them an easement if they choose to pursue it.
I just want.
I see, okay.
And if you want to pursue that route, you can certainly get a hold of them. I'm sure Mr. Peterson has business cards if you want to
Okay,
grant an easement.
I'll talk to it, yeah, if
Okay.
you wanted to talk afterwards, that's fine then.
All right.
Okay.
If there's no other, John?
There was another gentleman back there.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Okay.
Yeah, so my lot is in blue, it's the furthest one on the south, on there, on the left-hand side. Right there, yeah.
Right next to the other one. Yep.
So what does that mean? There is no pedestal or anything in the back. My neighbor that wanted the yellow there, the utilities are probably 30 yards from my house. Where would I be getting in from, I guess? I don't want anybody coming in my backyard and digging it all up.
You got one in the front yard? Oh, I can't.
In the front yard.
I mean.
Our neighbor has one in the front, in the yellow.
Yeah, you're just missing
Right
all
between our houses is maybe about 30 yards from my house.
Yeah, I'm his next door neighbor, so I think it's gonna come from the front.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna add another pedestal.
Okay, so there won't be another pedestal then?
There'll be no pedestal put in our yard.
There won't be any more pedestals, right?
No, they.
In the back?
So the blue areas are the areas that have a back easement.
So those will be in the back?
And we've proposed to move those to the back,
Right.
so
Okay.
he would get one in the back.
So your pedestal would be in back?
There isn't one in our yard right now. That's what
Right,
we're.
so-
Front or back?
There's not one in our yard right now, so we're assuming that there won't be one put in our backyard. That's what we're asking.
it's too low for.
So what
They will
she's,
get put in your back,
Okay.
because I don't think they
We'll
come
take
down.
Keep on
That's
this
fine.
second.
Oh, I see.
Let the gentleman talk here, please. Okay.
we can take it offline and talk to them, but what they're proposing is their existing easements are in the front already.
Okay.
And they would like us to keep it there.
Okay.
But what we're proposing is, we've heard complaints that we want, if there's a back easement, that they would like it moved back there.
Right.
So, I mean, we can talk to them afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments or questions? If not, again, I would make a motion that based on this plan, that we allow TDS to reinstate their work and restoration of. Any other?
Is there a second?
Okay. Motion and a second, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes, thank you, Tom.
I got one question. I registered to speak.
Yes, sir.
I came home today and they had done restoration, I guess if you want to call it that, in my yard. I've got an area, it looks like all they did is they threw dirt on top of existing grass. So now everywhere that they restored is a big mound. Up by the sidewalk, it's all now much higher than the sidewalk with big clumps of dirt. There's actually like fist-sized balls of dirt that they just threw out there. And in another area, when they dug up roots that are sticking up out of the ground, and those are still sticking up out of the ground. So I want to know who's going to be supervising this, who do I contact to get them to come back and do this right?
Okay.
I've got one area that, when they drilled, there's a spot that was maybe this long and a foot wide. It's now a 4x8 area where they threw dirt over the existing grass, and it's a mound of dirt.
Sir, you've got, right in the front row, I don't wanna identify them, but that's who they are. A lot of TDS representatives, and I think I would go right over to them, get some answers. And for all of the people that are here, that's, because the village really has relatively little control over this. And,
I'd say.
well, that's the law. So, and as it is, the village board, on behalf of the citizens, really pushed the law about as far as they could. So I'd like you to just keep that in mind. I understand that you may not be happy about it, but the village board, the people that are sitting here, definitely pushed this. So since you have the TDS people, I'd go over and for all of you with questions.
Multiple meetings ago, we were told we were going to get a number that we could actually talk to
Okay,
somebody.
Well,
and
now you've got
that never
a
happened.
human being and ask them for the number.
Yeah, you can talk to a real person here and get a contact person.
The vice president right there, so.
All right.
I don't know if this information is helpful, but I talked to 2 years ago yesterday. He said that it would be in different phases.
They'll give us all the-
It would be what?
It would do the work in different phases, so.
I'm not sure what that means.
I think you're speaking specific to restoration.
Right.
Yeah, so, right, then we'd come back and we'd do it, and it will, put it back to its original condition. It's tough to grow grass today.
Assuming we're done with snow.
Precisely.
Okay. All right, so motion passes, and thank you for coming up with this plan.
Mr. Kugertans.
Okay, Mr. Krugertans?
I've got 2 simple questions.
Thank you.
I think one's been answered for me already. And I'll get out of here.
All right.
When I worked for a developer doing this back in the 90s, he said one day, he came down there, we were working.
Okay.
He said he granted the easement right to every lot to the back of the lot. Now, I bought one of these lots. So the easement right should be to the north line along Taylor Street.
Okay.
And, it says on the deed too, easement rights 12 feet from the street line.
Okay.
And I never measured it, today I measured it, now you're 13 or 14 feet, that's all right. Where did they get easement, the land is just about easement rights? In the front yard. The rich.
Right. That would have had to be recorded in the original deed, I'm assuming, Lee, is that correct?
Well, in the original plat,
Right.
up until 1990 or so, there wasn't really necessarily uniformity. I think I started in 83. There really wasn't uniformity as far as where the easements went. I think now it's a different story for easements generally in the back. So,
Okay. All right.
so that, and this plat was done in like 1990.
I'm talking about 93, that's the night.
Yeah. I don't think any of us were here on the board.
93, it's a easement, Saturday. North of my lot, which will belong to Taylor Street. Everything's fine, great.
Okay.
I don't like it on the front, but it's next year.
Okay.
And he promised me on the phone, one night here, that was gonna be moved to the back.
Yep.
It's going in the back.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's going to go to the back.
He promised me, and says, I had to, now, I said, one more thing, Intercom came and did the lawn work where they messed up.
Right.
So I am 100% satisfied.
Okay.
I did have the easiest lot to clean up on it. And then the rest somebody had to do. I sat out there in one of those scooters and I watched it. They did a good job.
Okay.
If they do what they said, or moving that to the back, I'll leave them, never bother you again.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you.
I'll be the only guy that's leaving here happy tonight.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Discuss and consider resolution 2019-02 regarding DNR stewardship grant for the shelter in Phoebe Bakken Park. John, are you here? Okay.
So as we spoke last meeting, we're going to attempt to apply for a stewardship grant for possibly up to 50% of the cost of the shelter.
Okay.
To be tentatively built in 2020. So this is just just something that the village board has to commit to if should we get that stewardship grant.
Yeah, basically, in order to get the grant, you have to have the resolution passed.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, there's no guarantees we're going to get the grant, but.
Okay, what you're looking for is our motion to say go ahead and please try to get it.
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from board members? Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and second to approve the DNR stewardship grant application for the shelter in Phoebe Bakken Park. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. All right, moving down to 7, new business. Discuss and consider new operator's license for July 2018 to June 2019 for, I'm going to try to pronounce this right, Javier Cooper, Ryan Harvey, and Paul McQuillan. You see the applications attached here. Matt, any issues, any questions? Okay.
Nope. I move to approve all 3.
Okay. Motion and second to approve operator's license applications for July 2018 to June 2019 for Jennifer Cooper, Ryan Harvey, and Paul McQuillan. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion passes. 7B, discuss and consider the award of the contract for the 2019 Cottage Grove Road Rehab Project. So you've got orange barrels on I-90. I guess we're going to have a few here.
Hopefully.
Yep.
James again. In your packet, you can see the bid results and Mike's recommendation.
Yep.
Essentially, we had two alternates with this project, not just the repavement, but then also while we're doing the project, there's some ADA upgrades that could bring our sidewalk ramping into compliance, as well as an upgrade to the bike path, continuation of it there on the south side in front of the church to bring it all the way to the intersection and then get bikers back onto a newly striped bike lane.
Okay.
So those are those two alternates you're seeing there. The one point to notice, depending on what is awarded here tonight, that the lowest bidder is Tri-County if it's just for the asphalt work. If either or both of the alternates are added in, then Payne and Dolan becomes the lowest bidder.
Okay. And it sounds like the alternates would probably be a good idea. I mean, from what I...
JJ, what's MSA's recommendation?
For the work, we're recommending everything. Currently the ADA upgrade, if you're not familiar with it, the curb ramps that are out there do not have the truncated domes, which are visually and have a feel to them for people that are blind or have vision issues. Also, the slopes are not to standard. Some are to standard. Some are steeper than they should be for wheelchairs. And then also the widths. Some of the widths don't really coincide with the actual path of the sidewalk. They should equal the path of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So that's the ADA upgrade. The bike path itself, this just provides connectivity. With the bike path, there is not just the path itself, but there is widening of County Highway Cottage Grove Road east of Southing Grange. So it's adding a lane there, but it's also giving a route around, so it's going to change the medians a little bit, shorten one median up. It's got some queuing that it doesn't need, which is stacking for cars that it doesn't need because the stop signs are now there.
Right.
So we're recommending, the full project, to enhance the full corridor there.
Right. I think.
Yeah, we discussed this
Yeah.
at Public Works, get around to as well. This will coincide, at least the bike path work, with the work that we're doing on Highway N.
Yep.
To connect that bike path. So again, it's more about continuing to move forward with more avenues for people to commute around the village.
Yeah, and I think the ADA modifications are absolutely needed. I mean, that's pretty much, you don't want to spend the money not to that.
Yeah, and all it's going to be already torn up anyway, so why not get it done then? It's going to be a lot less expensive.
Okay. All right, so your recommendation was then to award to Payne and Dolan?
Yeah, well, same with MSA.
Okay.
So I'll make that motion, I guess.
With both alternates? Both
Yes.
alternates, okay. I'll second. Any other discussion? Motion and second to award to Payne and Dolan with both alternate amounts?
Question I have is,
Yep.
so on Mike's memo, it talks about 768,000, but the spreadsheet I'm looking at, page 2, unless I'm missing something, then the bottom line comes in at 800 and almost 803,000.
That's Tri-County.
That's Tri-County. That's Tri-County, yeah. Okay. All right. If there's no other discussion, all in favor of awarding the contract to Payne and Dolan, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. I'll sign the letter tomorrow then.
Yeah, we'll get it over tomorrow.
Okay. Good enough. All righty. Now, reports from village boards, commissions, and committees. Public Works and Property.
I think they tried to escape on us. Look at that.
Yeah.
I'll start it off at least. So we met on April 2nd. Had a presentation by Charlie Rogers around looking into putting solar panels on the municipal building as a potential sustainability project. The folks in the utilities committee are working on this, and we'll continue to collect more information for Public Works, but it definitely has some options and some opportunities for us as a community and a near-term payback. So again, we need a little bit more information on that, so the work will continue, and obviously that would have to go out to bid, et cetera. So a lot more work to go on there. We talked about the bike path upgrades. The one on Highway N is going out for bid, or it's already out for bid, I believe. And then discuss the TAP grant process that continues for the path that would go through Bakken Park and connect us up to Madison.
Okay.
Other old business, and that won't continue. We haven't heard back on that. The other one will be on old business was Conservancy Court, the wetland scrape. We're just waiting for Mother Nature to allow some green stuff to grow and see how that goes, and to release the final funds for that we're holding back on the project to the vendor. New business, we talked about our right-of-way request from Alliant Energy. JJ had a meeting with them following our meeting and had more to say. I don't know, JJ, if you want to pipe in on that or not.
Sorry, John, what was that?
The Alliant Energy right-of-way request for...
Oh, that'll be later. It's
oh,
report. I'll give the,
okay, all right.
Okay.
That's a prelude then. And then the discussion about repaving, using that budget that the board set aside. There's some considerations there. Right now it looks like a Southern Grange is a viable candidate, and a little bit of Wheel Bridge wrapping around there. And then talked a little bit about the Highway BB repaving project, which we just discussed there. And that was about it for the agenda items.
All right. Ad hoc architectural review.
We talked about a couple things, the redesign of the Oakstone volleyball facility, and basically because their bids came back way higher than expected, they looked for ways to cut costs. Mainly they're removing out a lot of the stone and the awnings, and we kicked it around, and I think the architectural review committee was okay with the changes that they made, but I see this, we don't have anything to vote on or consider here. But
okay.
It'll be an action item under the plan commission.
Okay, thank you. And then the other thing that we talked about was the Gray Wolf monument sign. The biggest concern we had there was to make sure that there was stone involved in the sign.
And it was a very early conceptual presentation. There was no action taken.
There you go. And that was it.
All right. Our emergency government committee.
We met Thursday, April 4th. The town and the village updated the appendices, and all members should be going through the standard operating procedures to identify any changes that need to be made for the next meeting. Discussed a tabletop exercise with Landmark, which looks to be this fall, October-ish. Topic would be a propane leak. Topics that were discussed were evacuation, who, when, how far away, how long, where to shelter them. Specifically asked the retirement community and what their plans are in this type of situation. We need to review their emergency plan, how they handle their residents and patients. We hope to have a representative from them attend the next meeting to discuss the exercise with them. The other things that we discussed is possibility of a night exercise, all the committee members in like a real incident. We need to develop some objectives as to what we want to achieve, possibly include Madison Hazmat, Madison Metro, Nelson Bus, Badger Bus. Hydrite and Chemical donated $2,000 for us to upgrade some equipment, which will be given to us in a ceremony on May 30th at 3 o'clock at their facility. And future agenda items are the Landmark exercise, elections, and Astor.
Okay. All right, Utility Commission.
All right, Utility Commission met on April 10th. We did have one resident that petitioned the commission for a sewer credit, and what it was is it was an elderly resident, her daughter spoke on behalf of the resident. She had a leaky, basically, spigot in the backyard. Didn't catch it until just about a month ago, and the neighbor caught it. So the commission did award a $400 credit back on the sewer portion of her water bill, and the commission's going to be working on a policy for the next meeting to see if there's surrounding municipalities that have some sort of reimbursement.
Right.
Looking at maybe, if your water and sewer bill is high for one particular bill, don't wait until the second or third bill, but that's something we're going to be working on in the future. The cooling tower credit policy was tabled. Essentially what that is they're drawn in water for heating and cooling, but it's not hitting the sewage, so you would actually need a second meter, and JJ's been trying to get some policy on that. It's really non-existent at this point because it's relatively new, but that's been tabled. No engineer's report. And then, I don't want to steal JJ's thunder, but the one thing from his report is they did receive a second quote for the lighting company out in the water tower. Okay. There would be no subs, and it'd be turnkey, and they understand that it's $15,000 firm is what the board approved. Next meeting date is scheduled for May 8th, and we're backing that up to 5:15 moving forward rather than 5 o'clock start time.
Okay. All right, down to Plan Commission. We've got a few things here. We met last Wednesday. Item A is discuss and consider the request from Dwight and Dale Houston for approval of an extraterritorial jurisdiction certified survey map creating a 2-acre parcel on Up-Off Road in the town of Cottage Grove. I don't believe Aaron had any issues, but I'll let him talk about that.
Yeah, we had no concerns about that, and the planning commission recommended approval with no conditions.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve the certified survey map for Dale and Dwight Houston.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and second to approve. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Jack, just for the board's knowledge, Dennis Richardson's here from the Houston Company, and he was a key player in helping me coordinate signatures and legal description for the driveway access agreement. So Dennis, this is your 15 seconds of being in the village. So.
You mean for the fire department?
Yeah, for the emergency government.
That was something definitely needed to be done. Thank you. Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Item B is discuss and consider proposed amendments to Chapter 198 regarding impact fees, Chapter 274 regarding subdivision of land, Chapter 325 regarding zoning related to 2017 Act 67 and 2017 Wisconsin Act 243. You do have some people that have registered and also would like to speak, but I'll let Aaron and Lee give us some background on that, I guess, first. You should have a memo in your packets.
Sure, these two acts, 67 and 243, made some development-related changes to state statutes. Many of the changes we're recommending are just bringing things into compliance as far as some of the duration of impact fees that are collected, how subdivision sureties are handled, the status of signage on construction, site fences. These things are all pretty straightforward. I think the one that's got a lot more discussion in the Plan Commission and probably should be discussed more fully here is the status of a protest petition in the zoning ordinance. So up until these acts and until January 1st of this year, the state had a mechanism for people to file a protest petition if you live adjacent to an area that's being rezoned. If at least 20% of those property owners filed the petition, then the approval at the local level required a 3/4 approval, so 6.
Supermajority.
Yeah, and this is obviously what happened with Shady Grove here.
Right.
I think that's the only one that's happened here in my time. The state statutes in these acts no longer have that as a mechanism there. So now it really comes down to what you have in your local ordinance, whether you have this mechanism for a protest petition or not. It is in our ordinance, and we can just leave it alone, and then it just goes on as is. We could take it out, and then we don't have one here, or it could be changed. The Plan Commission discussed this back at their February meeting. Their inclination was to take it out, so that's how the ordinance amendment is drafted for you to consider this evening. So if you approve it as is, then you would be taking that out of our ordinance. But if you want to do something different, then you would just approve it conditionally or not approve it at all. But
So the
those
bottom
other
line
changes are things.
be then a simple majority vote versus a supermajority vote if somebody was unhappy with the proposal for the vote. Okay. All right. Any questions for Aaron or Lee on the legality and background of all this stuff?
How do we handle the existing petition?
That's grand.
The Shady Grove petition's grandfathered.
Yeah. I don't know if it's grandfather or
Grandmother?
parent.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Right.
there's not, that doesn't affect that.
Okay. All right, I'll read through these names. Some people actually wanted to just register, and some people wanted to speak. So if you do want to speak, what you'll need to do is come on up here when I call your name. Please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. I hope we've answered some of your questions already. Brian Thorson, 724 Weldbridge Road, is a village resident. Did not register to speak, but would like to register against. And this is the protest petition. Nancy Rabi, R-A-B-E, 708 Weldbridge Road, village resident, registers against. Sandy Brandmeier, 308 Aaron Court, village resident, registers against. Michael Brandmeier, sorry, same address, 308 Aaron Court, village resident, registers against. Sue Trentendale, not a village resident, didn't register to speak, but would like to register against. Jeff Trentendale, not a village resident, registering against. And Viola Rathert. Viola, are you here? Did you wish to speak? No? Okay. Registering against. I apologize if I mispronounced some of these names. Aaron Rembis, 138A West Main Street. Village resident would like to speak against. Are you here, Aaron? Okay. We'll consider you registered against. Dwayne Rathert, village resident. I think some of these people maybe just circled both against. If you're here, Dwayne, otherwise we'll consider you registered against. Eric Hallingtall, 204 Maria Lane, I think that is. Village resident, registered to speak against. Are you here? Okay. Cindy Block Boland, 744 Weldbridge, village resident, registering against. Barry Boland, village resident, registering against. Again, same address. Kyle W-O-J-T-A, Woda, okay. 314 Aaron Court, Cottage Grove, village resident, registering against. Gary Ribble, 520, I believe that is, Southern Grange, village resident, registering against. Michelle, oh, she's got better handwriting. Okay, now I know their address. Michelle Ribble, 520 Southern Grange, Cottage Grove, village resident, registering against. Paul and Tanya Haas, H-A-A-S-E, 732 Weldbridge, village resident, registering against. Carrie Thome, T-H-O-M-E, 740 Weldbridge, village resident, registering against. Daniel O'Brien, 304 Watercress Court, registering against. Cheryl Halverson, village resident, registering against, 726 Weldbridge. Bruce Halverson, same address, village resident, registering against. Stephen and Deborah Tinker, 728 Weldbridge. Steve, are you here, sir? Come on up here, if you could.
You're fine. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you. I'm Steve
Steve Tinker. I live at 728 Wall Bridge with Deb. We've been there almost 4 years. I'm opposing the elimination of our current right to file a protest petition. This is important for a couple of reasons. And the first is this protest petition is just not one single person that objects to a zoning change. In order for this petition to have jurisdiction before this body, there needs to be at least 20% of the people that are within the zoning district that's being changed, or 20% of the landowners that are adjoining within 100 foot. So it's not just one curmudgeon that is opposed to a zoning change. You're required to show you have at least 20% of the affected people. And oftentimes zoning changes do affect property values. And so I'd like to, how it works was described by the Planning Commission. I won't go against that. I won't go through that again, but I'll point out two things. To reiterate what was said, this change is not mandated by the statute. A lot of times villages are required to change their ordinances because they no longer have the authority to do something. So they have to eliminate it, delete it. Here that's not required.
Right.
The board can consider and keep it. And second is, I would ask the Planning Commission, the board to give it serious thought. When it was before the Planning Commission in the minutes set forth why they were considering it. And it basically, they explained that it was being brought up because of changes to the statute regarding protest petitions, and with the TID number 10 developing, we need to look at this to determine if we want to change the village ordinance to match state statutes. I would ask the board, in considering this, that you give it thought and actually look into what other impacts this might have on other possible zoning changes. And because it can, and if enough people here, for example, 20% of adjoining landowners, have filed a protest, then I think it does warrant serious consideration by the board and should require a supermajority vote. And for that reason, I would ask the board to not change the ordinance in that regard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Scott Janovic, Forreston, I think, and he might have been here for TD, oh yeah, that was TDS, sorry. All right, Tina McFadden was TDS, I'm assuming. Tina, did you want to speak about the protest petition?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I just wanted to state that I'm also against repealing the zoning ordinance section 325-110. I feel that people that are going to be affected by whatever is in the plans to, and whether it's family, multifamily, whatever, when a person, wherever they live and whatever goes in next to them, I feel that affects their property values, their happiness, just a whole array of things. So I think taking persons right away to protest would be wrong, and it should not be left up to, and it shouldn't just be left up to a few board members to make that decision. Like for example, we would not be in the situation that with TDS if one person had, one person had the power to approve their changes, for putting the front pedestals in. So I think big decisions need to be run by more than just one person. I think you need the majority of the vote to change any zoning laws, and I think you need I think you really need to listen to what the public says and the village residents say about how Cottage Grove grows. So I just wanted to state that I'm against, and those are the reasons why.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. All right, Rick Smith, 100 Heather Drive, registering against. Tony Connor, 200 Heather Drive, registering against. Tom and Mary Sullivan, 742 Weld Bridge, registering against. And that's Tina's, okay. Rick Smith, 100 Heather Drive.
No, he must have filled it out.
Okay.
And I filled one out for him, so.
Okay, gotcha. All right, Rob Kubertant, that's got to be TDS. That's TDS, sorry. Loretta Johnson, village resident, wishes to register against. All right, Carol, I apologize, Zeoman. Yeah, Jomans, Joemans. Okay, 715 Willow Run, village resident, registering against. Doug Clark, village resident, registering against. 505 Wellbridge. Catherine Mackesy, 306 Watercrest, village resident, registering against. Carol Clark, 505 Wellbridge, village resident. Is Carol there? She also signed up to speak, but I'm assuming she's going to register against then, okay? Tom Earlywine, 323 Southern Grain, registering against. Okay. Bill Wiedenbeck, 509 Southern Grain, did sign up to speak. Is Billy here? No? Okay. Registering against. Rita Rice, 505 Southern Grange, registering against. And John J. Rice, 505 Southern Grange, registering against. Okay. And that's relating just to the one regarding Act 67, I believe, the protest petition, not the other ones. What we had talked about at Plan Commission, and I think the staff memo also recommended approval of it, was simply taking out the protest petition. Is that correct, Aaron? Just removing that language? I think it was all struck through on the memo. Is that correct?
I don't think staff really had a recommendation. We just brought it to the Plan Commission's attention. And
right. And it's true that this did come to light because of Southern Grange. And I mean, is there a way that we could have the language say that if you're a resident of the village, the protest petition is allowable? Otherwise, for non-residents, you don't have to allow the protest petition. Is that possible?
Probably not. But, I guess that would be something, we'd have to take a look at, and the board would have look at different structures for it, or different votes and that type of thing. It's a question of how much time you want to put into it.
Yeah. Okay. And I was just going to say, if it's just for, what about the township? Because it's like, the village is this. It's like, I have people that I know that live in the township, too, that, would be affected if they would be able to protest or have a voice in how things are also said. So I don't think we should just say, just for the village, and exclude the township. I think, everybody should have a right to protest.
Well, you do understand this is not a First Amendment.
Oh, I understand that, but it was like for the majority of the votes, though, right? Exactly, right,
yeah.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I understand that, but it was like, I don't think it should just be just a few board members saying that, yes, I agree to this. I think it should be the majority. There's a lot of people here, and it should be the majority agreeing to, go forward with any type of.
Just so everybody understands, that's really the aspect of this that is sometimes troublesome, is you're asking for 6 members of the board to vote a certain way, not a majority. Most zoning decisions are just a majority. So in this situation, you have to get 6 out of the 7, and that has raised issues in the past, and maybe why the legislature pushed it. I don't know.
Right, and I think with Shady Grove, I know some of you folks are for the TDS, but in my opinion, the town residents essentially held us hostage for a while with the Shady Grove thing. Yes, they should have done it differently. Yes, they could have listened better, but that developer has jumped through more hoops with that protest petition.
And I think we have a better development because of it.
Well, I guess that's a matter of opinion, but any other thoughts or comments from board members?
What are other communities doing late? Other communities that have this ordinance, what are they doing?
most of the well, I don't know for sure, Troy. I do know that there was a provision in the bill that that passed these other things to take it out, to just say that it was not allowed anymore. And then there was an amendment that said, okay, each municipality can decide. So, and I'm not really sure what other municipalities have done at this point. This is still relatively.
The state level, they couldn't make up their mind, so they said, you guys decide.
So,
I'd personally like to get some more information on it, so I'm gonna make a motion to table this until time.
Information as far as what other communities are doing?
Yeah, what other communities are doing, what can be in the language, what can't be in the language.
Okay, and that's just the one, not the other three?
No, just the six.
Okay, just a protest petition one. I'm fine with that. I mean, getting information on what other communities are doing. Would that be direction to staff then to
Yes.
find out if you could?
I don't think there's a rush on the other items. If
Right.
It's more efficient to just keep it all together.
We'll keep it
on
one
a-
packet, then table the whole thing? Okay.
I guess I'm not sure why we'd want to table it with the number of citizens that voiced their opinions on it. Also, this is, in 20 years, has been used 3 times, twice in the last
Yeah,
year.
I get where you're coming, Troy, but they're all in one central location of the village, that's fine. I'd like to find out a little bit more information.
Everybody else is welcome to come, Jeff. Nobody else came.
Well, the only reason village residents showed up to protest Shady Grove, I think, is because they were recruited by town residents. I'm not afraid to say that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what happened, so. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd like to find out what other communities are doing. Spend just a few hours of staff time to see what we can find out about it. And I'll second the motion to table. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Two abstentions? Okay, motion is tabled. All right. 8C, discuss and consider request from Hamburg Equipment to rezone 4 parcels in Coyle Highlands South subdivision along West Cottage Grove Road from NO, which is neighborhood office, to PB, which is planned business. Andrew is here someplace. Okay, this was approved at the Plan Commission, and I'll let Aaron talk about it. Did you have anything to present to the board, Andrew, or just, I mean, this is kind of housekeeping in that area, I think, as far as the plan. Any?
Yeah, basically, the applicants are requesting this because these parcels have existed for quite some time and have generated little to no interest for commercial development. A big limiting factor on that is I think the building size restrictions that are built into the neighborhood office district. They put a 5,000 square foot cap on a 1-story building or 10,000 on a 2-story building. The planned business would be a little bit more flexible. You still have green space requirements and things like that. The planned business also has a stricter requirement for buffering against non-commercial uses, so the residential properties around would have a thicker landscaping buffer under the planned business zoning than they would currently under the neighborhood office zoning. This would be consistent with the comp plan. That change was made a few years ago, I think in advance of a request like this. This is also a very similar situation to the parcels we had on North Main Street up by Stop and Go and those parcels to the north. They were also rezoned to planned business, and I think that spurred some of the development that's there.
Okay. All right, any questions for Aaron or Lee from the board? If not, I will make a motion to approve Andrew's request to rezone to planned business.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to approve. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion passes. Item D is discuss and consider request from Hamburg Equipment for approval of 3 certified survey maps to reconfigure lots in Coyle Highlands South subdivision, basically eliminating 1 lot and increasing the size of others. Anything to add with that one?
I think 2 factors behind this request. Back when Coyle South was approved, it was approved under a kind of a joint town-village body that was put in place, I think, as a result of litigation. Yeah. At that time, there was a 50-foot setback put along the western edge of the Coyle South development. That's going to remain. None of this changes that setback. But that setback has made it difficult to develop the residential lots because it really puts a pretty tight restriction on the building envelopes that are available. So the changes that are being requested would take one of those lots out, make them a little bit bigger, make those building envelopes bigger, and make it a little bit easier to build the kind of houses that these lots would otherwise call for. The other aspect to this, there's a former or a proposed well site that we no longer need. MSA has looked at that, Public Works has looked at that. We're not going to have a well at that location anymore. So that land would also be just incorporated back into the surrounding parcels with these certified survey maps.
All right, and that also passed the Plan Commission. Any questions from board members on that?
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second to approve the request from Hamburg Equipment for the 3 certified survey maps to configure the lots in Coyle Highlands for the purpose of eliminating one lot and increasing the size of others. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Moving along, item E, discuss and consider ordinance 03-2019 for petition for direct annexation by unanimous consent from Hamburg Equipment and Ellery and Margaret Jensen for annexation of approximately 228 acres from the town of Cottage Grove into the village of Cottage Grove. Everybody should have a annexation map in there, and this also passed at Plan Commission. I know there was some question as far as bus road with the right-of-way, but I believe everybody understands we're taking the entire right-of-way, so we're going to...
Yeah, the map on the table shows that. That's the correct...
Taking care of the whole road there.
The exhibit.
Okay, any...
What about gas?
That also, yes.
Yeah, so basically we'd be taking care of the whole road. Okay? All right, any other questions on that?
I guess I have a couple of comments. In West Lawn, we have 6 lots that are available now. West Drumlin, there are 10. Coyle Highlands, we just approved, 17 there. Quarry Ridge, there's platted for 79. Shady Grove is 57, as I recall, so that's 170 odd lots that are presently set to go in place. And we've annexed other properties. Schultz years ago, there's 120 acres at 190 that's developable. Hegelen, there's 27 that's developable out of 51. White and Olson, there's 23 and a half acres out of 40. That's a little over 170 acres that we already have. That's no dirt's moving. Why would we add more to the village, have to maintain more roads and all that stuff if there's no developer agreement as to if he's got a 1-year plan to develop this, a 5-year plan, a 25-year plan?
Okay. At Plan Commission, I believe Andrew said 5 phases. Is that correct, Andrew? If you want to come up here and...
Good evening. Valid question, Troy, and our intention is to develop this land. It is a simple response to the question. Many of those parcels that you mentioned have not moved forward for various reasons, and our belief is that some of them may not. I can't control outside of what we do, but I'll sit here before you and tell the board, as I told the Planning Commission last week, our intention is to move forward and develop this property. The critical mass of acreage is larger than we've done in the past. I've been working on this northwest neighborhood, and I can put the map up if you guys are interested in seeing that, for nearly a decade now. And there's a lot of legwork that goes into the front side of this stuff, a lot of planning, and we've been taking incremental steps towards developing the parcel. So, while it may not look like things are going to move forward, we're sold out in West Lawn. The 16 lots in Coyle Highlands are a stopgap that, frankly, I should have had in hand already. And at the moment, there's really nowhere to build in the village. I do believe a number of these subdivisions, and I really don't want to go into the specifics of the different parcels, but our planning, our business plan is clearly built around understanding the market. In working out here for the last 27 plus years, if nothing else, I hope I know a little bit about this market. I think the the next phase of this, which I hope to be bringing forward to you rapidly. Like I said, the pieces are in place: survey work, soils analysis, pre-engineering, the allocation of urban service area in 2017 to the 228 acres, the extension of water main down Gaston Road and through the Jensen property. And Ellery Jensen's here as well this evening, my brother Chris, in case anyone's interested in talking to them too. All of those are preliminary steps that have brought us to this point. And we have a conceptual design and preliminary plat that I'd like to bring forward rapidly to the board for the next 71 acres, which would be moving north into the next 40, east into the 20 that rolls down towards Ravenwood, and then slightly west into the 40 that would be above Red Hawk Trail, if you're familiar with the location. We need to move forward so that we have a place for the builders and the citizens that want to move to the community or move within the community. Many of our owners are from within. A lot of the names I heard this evening are from plats that we developed in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It was like a roll call of memory lane hearing some of those names. But our intention is to build this, and as rapidly as possible. I'd frankly like to up the absorption rate a little bit. We were tempered during the Great Recession, I think is the appropriate word, because death to a development is getting too far ahead of things. And if we go and build 100 acres and all of a sudden the next Great Recession hits, we're in trouble. So we fully intend to enter into a contract with the village to work with staff to develop a developer's agreement that's to the benefit of both parties. And we want to continue building the Northwest neighborhoods.
Yeah. You've done a lot for our community up to this point, obviously, with the development that you've done. I just, so do you think this 228 acres will be filled in the next 5 years? You'll do it all?
No. In 5 years?
I'm asking.
No.
I haven't heard that answer.
I mean, if we went back to when they mentioned 5 years, that's for, 5 years would be the outside horizon, Troy, for Fifth Ave to West Lawn, which would be that next plat that we want to bring forward. I think that the Northwest neighborhood in its entirety is probably a 10 to 15, potentially 20 if there's another Great Recession. We lost how many years where at the belly of it we put 7 holes in the ground in the village. And there were other subdivisions in other communities that would have died for 7 new builds. They were asking us, how are you keeping any momentum? And part of it is the reputation and the climate in this community. It's a supportive place, it's a great school district, accessible government. People want to be here. And I think that was evidenced 08, 09, 10, through the downside.
Troy, just to kind of address, I know that I saw that letter from Chris Anton and just kind of in line with that and your question, we require a pre-annexation agreement so we get some idea of what the developer's going to do. And then the developer agreement comes after the annexation. And it would really be almost impossible to do a developer agreement pre-annexation because I don't know what we'd really put in it. We don't really know what the plans are and that type of thing. And so that's always been in place, or it's been in place for quite a while. And so we would be requiring, we already have, I think, one from the Hamburgs and others who are annexing. And then also in the developer agreement itself, there is a section that talks where, for example, Andrew would say, well, this is what we think we're going to build in the next X number of years. And the question has come up before, which is, well, wait a minute, they said they were going to build X, but now they aren't because of the, for whatever reason. And I'm referring to the Hamburgs, but other developers. And the problem is that it's really somewhat unenforceable because you really can't make them build houses that there aren't people for. And I have going down memory lane, I got a lot of developers who have very impassioned and said, well, you can't force us to build these houses. And they're right. So we try, and it's a valid point.
What went awry with the other developments that they haven't developed then? Our process may not be working the way we do it.
I think this is a good case of a developer that actually does follow through on what they say they're going to do.
I've known Andrew probably 15 years. I've been on the board, and I've seen a lot of other developers annex with the intention of building this or that. And yeah, it's true, the land is still sitting there, but not to hold Andrew hostage for what the other developers have or haven't done right, but Andrew's done it right. He's paced the development, and I have no reason to not want to approve this one.
I guess if the window could be 25 years from now, why are we annexing all this land at once? Why aren't we doing it in phases, the same as you would build in phases?
I never said 25, but I guess the answer is we want to master plan this neighborhood. And we need to understand, if we're going to invest the money and the time and the energy into this community, that there's a future there to create that northwest quadrant of the village. So, you know, these processes are difficult. The room full of people evidence that. And getting urban service area allocation for the entirety of the acreage was difficult and opposed by the township. And I frankly think the township's interests and the villages are not aligned. When we began in 1992, there was a power change that's occurred like this over the past 27 years. And so when 4th Ave to West Lawn was developed, they attempted in a number of fashions to block it. And the effective idea was to block the village, not just Hamburg, but to stop anything from going into this quadrant. So I would caution against their advice in terms of how to limit this, because I'm not sure that their interests are aligned with the villages. We enter into a contract with the village. We have helped to create prosperity and places for people to live in the village, and I remain focused on that goal. And that's not to say I don't want to listen, but I have to listen with a discerning ear. I have street extensions we built 5 years that are still dead ends because of a refusal to issue a permit to connect that road for the last 25 feet, when it would be to the benefit of people that live there to have an alternative access for emergency services. But I can't get the permit. So.
Right. And I think it's absolutely essential that if you're going to do this, like Andrew said, you have this global master plan, whether or not you develop it for 10 or 15 or 20 years, you need to know how the end product's going to look.
There's a significant investment in the front side of all this. And so we really want very strongly, and I guess another thing I'd like to mention is that I've heard voices say we need more diversity in housing, we need to have more affordability, we need to have zoning alternatives. And I've been listening. You know, I'm not coming to the hearings and standing up and telling everyone what I think, but I am listening. And the 227 acres will allow us that opportunity to provide those options to the community. Right now, today in 4th Ave to West Lawn, we've been able to drive the bar high, bring in high-value properties, grow the tax base significantly with high-value homes. And I guess, in my estimation, why wouldn't you do that in the appropriate place, which is in the core of this area? That's what we're working on right now. As we move northerly and westerly towards the intersection of Gaston and Bus, we will provide opportunity for increased density, for more affordability in housing, and to have a diversity in the housing type throughout the neighborhood, and that begets a greater mass to plan. So we're trying to take a big picture, long-term approach to this thing, is what we'd like to do here.
Any other questions for Andy?
Yeah. How does the new school affect residential growth? How do you think it's going to affect?
I'm not sure. We haven't spoken to them very much, so I don't know what their plans are, what they look like. When we were planning this thing a number of years ago, there was a plan that drove roads westward to Bus. I'm not sure what that's going to look like now. That's a process that'll unfold here between now and when they break ground. I see it as a beneficial thing. We've always partnered with the school district and been big supporters of the Winona Grove School District. It's a major reason why we're all here. There's a good school district, so their health is our health. And we've always tried to work with them. When we donated the land for Taylor Prairie, we were a big part of that process in it. Citing that elementary school, and the siting of a 3-5 school is something I think is fantastic for the community.
Any other comments, questions?
Just at the water utility a few years ago also extended water main down Gaston, about a $1.5 million investment to specifically serve these future neighborhoods.
Yep, and so that high pressure water main system gets repaid through the development on this acreage and adjoining acreage. the school district would not be able to build the 3-5 elementary had the village not had the willingness to, frankly, fight to get the permits to come down Gaston Road. Mike's not here this evening, but and Lee, I'm sure you recall what it was a challenge to get that there, but to pay for it, we have to build the neighborhood. And they couldn't build the school without that high pressure water main. Once you got above a certain elevation, water pressure declined to the point where development wouldn't be possible. And it's a small thing, but I just wanted to also say, Matt reminded me of water with that well site in Coyle Highlands South. It's roughly a ½ acre. Our developer's agreement will dictate that we'll give the village a replacement site up in the northwest neighborhoods. Basically, you guys tell us where you want it, and we'll site it, build it. Not the well. Just to be clear.
At least if you get that in a minute.
We do a lot of things we don't drill wells.
Get the equipment mobilized.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we're going to
No.
make a motion. I'll make a motion that we annex in 227.7 it was.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and second to approve the annexation petition from Hamburg Equipment and Ellery and Margaret Jensen for annexation of approximately 228, or as you said, 227.5 acres from town of Cottage Grove into the village of Cottage Grove. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon.
Yep.
I voted yes on your reputation, so don't disappoint us.
I'll walk the line.
No pressure.
A lot of pressure.
All right. Moving along, item F, discuss and consider request from Oakstone Recreation for approval of an amended site plan for the proposed bar, restaurant, and volleyball facility located at the northeast corner of Commerce Parkway and Herb Road. I think as James had mentioned earlier, they're doing some revisiting and replanning, and I think I'll let Aaron talk about the revised plan to make sure everybody's on board with that. I think everybody at Plan Commission was.
Yeah, and we do have Scott Jewell, the contractor, along with a couple of the ownership team from Oakstone, if you have questions for them. But basically, the genesis for the site changes were one, based on the cost of the project, and two, picking up some of the conditions from the previous approval. I think the main changes to the building, they oriented it slightly different on the site. It had been kind of angled, now it's kind of, parallel to the two streets. The exterior materials are simplified a little bit. They took some of the masonry off the base. Some of the massing around the entry is simplified a little bit. They did add to the landscaping on the site, which per our zoning ordinance was a way to kind of offset not having masonry on a project in a planned industrial district. So it does still meet our ordinances, it does still meet the covenants. It's a little simpler than it was before, but it does meet our requirements. The ARC approved it with conditions that are in the action report. They were particularly interested in the location and screening of the rooftop equipment. So they will be screening those 100% with a metal panel that's kind of similar to the exterior.
I think as you
building.
discussed, you're going to move them two closer together to create one screen effect rather than two separate screens effect. Is that accurate? Okay.
We have I'm Scott Schulfree. We have two large units that will be up on the volleyball facility. Those will be screened. And then the units that will take care of the bar restaurant, we've tried to move closer, so we'll have one continuous fence around it on that level to do the screening.
All right.
And these are architectural metal panels. They have very thin seams and concealed fasteners. It's not just, they're riveted together warehouse type materials.
Okay.
So we'd recommend approval with the conditions in the action report, which include both the planning and engineering conditions as well as the items from the ARC.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised request from Oakstone for the volleyball and restaurant and bar site.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that trivia night going?
Get us the.
Oh, right, yeah.
Trivia night.
Yeah.
All right. Reports from village officers, Troy. No report. Okay, Jane?
I just want to say I've enjoyed my time on the board, and I've grown a new appreciation for the competence of the staff and the ethics of the staff, and it's been a pleasure to work with everybody.
Okay. Jeff?
No report.
Melissa?
The Optimist Easter egg hunt went very well with all sorts of little kids running around despite the cold weather. So, thank you.
Okay. All right, John? Okay, John Williams?
Yes, I need a few volunteers for the board review on the 30th of April, and I've garnered them. I'd like to nominate Heidi Murphy and Alex, I'm going to butcher Alex's last name, Josh.
Justin?
Yeah.
Alex, go with that.
To the board review as joint members.
Those three? Two? Two, that's what I thought, okay. So Heidi Murphy and Alex Jacobson? Okay. I'll second that. We need to vote on that? Yeah, I think we do, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of Heidi and Alex, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. I have no report other than it's been a long, good 15 years. I guess the thing I'd like to leave you with, even though we all haven't agreed at times, the staff here has been awesome, and the people in process here, if it ain't broke, just don't fix it. I mean, that's all I can really say. It's awesome, so thank you. Lee?
Well, tonight is always the night that I get to give a little history about where the term lame duck came from. It used to be applied to, in 17th century Britain, to bankrupt businessmen who were considered as lame in the sense that the impairment of their powers rendered them vulnerable, like a game bird injured by shot. And by the 1830s, it had come over to the United States to be extended to office holders. So while there's a little humor in that, I just want to thank everybody who has served on the board, whether you're continuing or not. This is a time that when the citizens see you sit here and they say, well, that doesn't look so hard, they just come here on Monday night. But there's a heck of a lot more time in terms of other committees and commissions, a lot of preparation time, and a lot of time just as you're out in the village, you've always got your trustee hat on, and people are talking to you and, well, what happened with this and what happened with that? Because remember, we are the closest thing to government that people actually see. So you got a pothole, sorry, Jay, I didn't want to bring that up, or whatever, that's who fixes it. And so thank you from behalf of myself, and I'm sure all of the staff for everything that you've done.
Okay. Heidi and Sarah have been sworn in already, right? I just didn't want them like running out the door when they hear stuff.
No, that's why I like to throw in something positive.
Okay.
Midnight tonight.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, if you see Secret Service people come outside your house, you'll know that.
Black Suburbans.
Right. Yes.
All right. Matt?
Full disclosure, Lee is always ready for the lame duck meeting. He actually brings that with him. It's always in his binder. I see it right here.
Yeah,
So
see, yeah, you're right.
Somebody gets impeached, right? Yeah.
I second all of Lee's comments. I mean, there's a lot that goes into being on the board, and staff appreciates it. So thank you.
Okay, Aaron?
Nothing.
All right, Chief Labor is not here, but Matt is. Anything police department wise?
Nope.
Okay. Is there truth to the rumor about people passing fake $100 bills?
There is.
Okay. Curious about
We
that.
did send out a notice to the Chamber of Commerce to pass on to all their constituents to look out for a fake $100 bill. We've given them the serial number, and
okay.
We do have the two individuals identified.
Okay.
And we're working with other agencies throughout the county and actually throughout the state to prosecute the individuals.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Parks and Recreation, Sean, anything? Sean, anything else? Okay.
You missed JJ.
JJ? Oh, I skipped JJ, sorry. Yep. All right.
Normally I'd be fine with that. One more piece of business to attend to this evening.
and we have Matt and Rob are the project managers on this. In your packet, there was information on what 4 or 5 months ago would have been a routine right-of-way permit request. But given recent, anyway, essentially Alliant is going to upgrade the size of some of their poles virtually in existing locations. It was indicated to me when I took the first phone call, though, that it was primarily at this time to accommodate TDS's aerial portion. So I said we'd have to bring this to the board and review the permit. We had an operational planning meeting with interested folks from TDS, Alliant, Charter, Mike Maloney, myself, all kinds of folks just to coordinate a bunch of projects, our bike path, BB. They have, Alliant has a plan to run a distribution fiber line completely separate from TDS project, and that will come back to this board as well when that permit comes in. But so at that time, Mike and I talked with the representatives from Alliant and MyTech managing the project, looked at their plans. Mike immediately said this doesn't need an engineer's review. They're going to put poles where existing poles are, or a foot away, and then they're going to do some aerial make-ready work, which essentially there will be no effect to our road right-of-way. But it is a lot of poles, and it is at this time to accommodate TDS. So for that reason, I'm bringing it to you, but my recommendation is that the board authorize that we issue this right-of-way permit to Alliant for the pole replacements.
Any of the heights changing, or?
The heights will change, I believe, on all of these indicated, yeah.
How much higher?
Typically 5 feet on a good number of them.
Okay.
Okay.
And will the materials change? Are they still wood, or are they metal, or?
Wood, just bigger class poles.
Okay.
To hold the load.
All right.
Bigger diameter. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
Sorry to cut you off there.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm glad you guys stuck it out through the whole meeting.
All right.
I move to approve.
Okay. Is there a
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the right-of-way permit proposal from Alliant Energy for pole upgrades. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, Lisa.
No report.
All right, and Deb. Yeah, thanks, here.
Yes, I just submitted today an application for the Department of Revenue to work with the state debt collection agency. This will be mainly for courts and past due or debt for that we can send to them that they can.
You like
collect.
municipal court or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But what may interest you more is this gives us an avenue to go after personal property. So we will be doing that.
Okay, let me fix that problem.
Deb, have you talked with Cindy at all? Because I think that she was doing something along those lines. Yeah, okay, just.
All right. Anything else, Deb? All right, we are down to communications and miscellaneous business. Discuss and consider approval of vouchers. Any comments, questions?
I got a question
Yep.
about advanced disposal. Looks like we're paying for March and November's collection. Was there any sort of credits when they weren't able due to weather to get out and collect recyclables or garbage for those couple weeks at all? Or?
No, because they still ultimately picked up the materials.
Even though they were late because of the weather, but they picked them up.
2 weeks later.
Yeah.
It would have been a normal route, right? If they picked it up the following week.
Yeah, but they're picking, I mean, anything in excess that wouldn't fit in the bins. There isn't anything in the contract that would, I mean, we would have certainly accept the credit, but they, you know.
Okay. All right, anything else? Any other questions?
I would just say it's maybe something to address in the next
Yeah,
contract.
we're gonna, in the next contract, if there's a way to recoup the credit or whatever.
It's 2023, however, today, I noticed on this, the ticker today, Waste Management purchase advanced disposal. So we could, they may discuss with us an amended contract or who knows what, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, anything else for vouchers? Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve. $239,038.82.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second to approve vouchers. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Correspondence, nothing official. We did, I know about the letter from Chris Hampton regarding the annexation. Everybody got that in their email. Okay, upcoming community events, anything in the next month?
Those meetings that are listed, joint fire is not meeting until May 28th.
Oh, down at the bottom of the agenda, yeah.
Upcoming meetings, landfill and joint fire both meet on May 28th.
All right. Okay, future agenda items, we'll keep, I suppose it probably, I don't know if it'll be next month, but maybe we'll keep those plan commission amendments to the plans on the table. Anything else?
Also, the sexting and pod ordinance that has been proposed, just from a time point of view, I have been consumed with cable, and so I'll try to have that on for the next time.
Okay.
You've been watching cable?
Watching cable. No, in fact, apparently my name is out on the cable alert or something, because then my cable went out the other day when we were trying to negotiate with TDS.
Of course, yeah. All right, if there's nothing else, that brings us down to item 11. Okay, motion and second to adjourn. Non-debatable, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.